right. So hello everyone. Hello, hello, and hello, and hello. Um, yeah, we are glad to be here. We're excited, and it's another time out. It's another virtual educators conference. So this is just part of our plan for this year. At the beginning of the year, before the year, we thought of what could we do this year to to be more impactful as an organization, and so we came up with this virtual educators conference. So every month we meet like this to discuss, to look at the 21st century learning design, to really get deep into it. One, uh, our education community to be more familiar with the 21st century learning design, yeah, because its essence is core, and then it's very critical. And so we have guests, we have professionals across the globe who come around to share their experience, how they have been, how they have been able to apply the 21st century learning design just to get us inspired. And that's what we're doing. It's about inspiration. So through scenario-based learning, you get to see how the 21st century learning design is applied, all right, by various individuals in various ways. All right, so you need to see what's happening everywhere. As a teacher, as an educator, you can't just stay in your zone and just have your time, and you need to see what's happening. It's really very important. You need to collaborate. You need to see what's happening, even in diaspora. See the approach that people are using to do the same thing that you are doing, and that can be a plus. That can be an addition to you, and that's what this program is all about. It's for you to come around and get inspired, and go do better as an educator with respect to the 21st century learning design. All right, so we are 21 years into the 21st century, and that's a lot. And we have discovered that we still have a number of educators who really don't know anything about the 21st century learning design, who are not familiar with what it looks like. And this is just what we're taking upon ourselves to see how we can get this, how we can really drive this into our own education community and really get everyone familiar. So that can become the order, that can become what's happening. All right, so my name is Adibayo. I'm the head of research and operations from EAZY-DIGI Tech Solutions. We are a research and training based organization, and on educational technology and 21st century learning system. And that's what we do. All right, so we have a drive, we have a passion, and it's about the equity thing. It's about equity. We want to ensure that whatever quality of learning that is available in other places, in other continents, we want to make sure it's available, even right down here in Nigeria, even right here in Africa. All right, so that's not going to happen if we do not collaborate. That's not going to happen if we do not connect with professionals across, so that's what we're doing. And that's why we have a number of guests, on the platform this morning who are from other continents. Who are going to be sharing ideas with us. We're going to be rubbing minds together, and that's what it's all about. We cannot achieve equity if we just stay where we are and we're just talking about ourselves and just dealing with ourselves. All right, so we need to connect, we need to collaborate with colleagues in other continents and rub minds together, and let's see what's happening. And that's the idea. All right, so today we have a lot of things. We have this program is powerfully packed and loaded with quite a number of stops. Along the line, in the midst of we have a panel session to start with. We have a panel session. We have our speakers. We have Teresa. We also have Olani. They're going to be sharing some powerful ideas with us. On how they have been able to innovatively apply the 21st century learning design in their classes. All right, so Teresa works in a school in Abu Dhabi, and she is an English educator. Yes, I'm right. And Mr. Neyi too works in a school in Turkey, and he's also an English educator. And so you're going to be seeing how they have been able to apply the 21st century learning design innovatively. You're going to be seeing that. And along the line, we also have Rich with us. It's going to be taking us on a thorough session, about project-based learning. Yeah, so PBL is one thing that is very important, with really engaging learners today. He's going to be taking us on a powerful journey. I'm excited that he's around, and then that's going to be coming up after the panel session. All right, so we have a number of guests on the platform, a number of participants rather, on the platform. Please feel free to use the chat box, and on YouTube, if you're viewing live on YouTube, please feel free to use the chat box. You can share your thoughts. We'd like to hear from you. We really like to hear from you. Please use the chat box. You can share as we go on. You can share your thoughts. Probably something is expressed and it resonates. Please feel free to express it. All right. So you can also ask your questions using the chat bot on YouTube. We'll be seeing it right here from the studio. And once I see your response, once I see your chat box, I'm going to be showing up on the screen to show that I can see what you posted. And then you can also ask questions too, and we'll just roll on. So that's going to be the idea this one. That's going to be the interface. All right. So you can use for participants that are connected. You can use the YouTube chat box to share your thoughts, to ask your questions, and you can show we're seeing it right here. All right, so great. Once again, I'm excited that uh, we have come this far to the second edition of the Virtual Educators Conference. And we had the first one last month, the maiden edition. And so we had two guests. We have Mari from USA, we had Sally from South Africa, and it was such an awesome time. And today is going to be more awesome, it's going to be more inspiring. So please stay connected. All right, so without much ado, I would like to get into the panel session. Now, this morning we have Teresa, we have Olani on ground. I didn't want to say too much of things about them, but these people have been awesome. Olani was a EAZY-DIGI icon of the month for January. So every month we have an icon. We have an icon, someone that we celebrate, someone that we see that has been so impactful. Someone that has been been an addition to us, someone that we see that has been doing so much in the education space. So we believe in celebrating people. And so last month we had Olani as our icon of the month. He has been doing so much. I've met him for like okay, not close to a year, about 6 7 months. So much I've learned from him. He has been an inspiring colleague. Every time we get to discuss, he inspires me. It has been an awesome time being with him. It has been an awesome time working with him. He has been an awesome fellow. All right, he has contributed so and so in terms of research. Because we are a research-based organization, so we meet with him, we talk about stuff. In terms of research, he has been so supportful. He has been so much. He has been so much in that regard. And we are blessed to have Olani in our network. We are so much blessed and excited to have him in our network. And so we also have Teresa to here. Um, she has been so much of a great addition to these people I'm talking about. I can say, I can say emphatically that where we are today as an organization, it's one of the it's a product of their input. What they have added in terms of support, contribution, research. They have been so much to us as an organization. So anytime I could just bump into them, hey, what's happening? This is what we're thinking of doing, and they contribute. They tell, okay, let's look at this from that perspective. They have been so much of support. And so I we do not take that for granted. Yeah, we celebrate what you have done, what you are doing, and what you always do. Yeah, even with others, ECG. Thank you so much. So I'm going to be bringing them up. They are both educators and learning specialists. Teresa is the CEO of Magnum Opus International in Abu Dhabi. Molani is the CEO of Shenkofo Global. These are both, education-oriented organizations. Time will not permit me to start going deep and deep into that and all of that. All right, so I'd just like to bring them on board. All right, so we get into the panel session, and then we begin to roll up the discussion. I know we have yeah. So this is this is a recorded YouTube session. So we know some based on the time zone, probably some people are still not able to connect, or others are trying to connect and all of that. And so this is going to be recorded. So for asynchronous consumption, it's going to be on YouTube for everyone that's not able to get in now to see what we're doing and what we'll put together. All right, and that's awesome. So yes, so right now we have Teresa, and then we have Olani on the platform. Good morning, Teresa. Can you hear me?
Good morning. I can hear you, sir.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good morning, Lani. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely. I can hear you.
awesome, awesome, awesome. So once again, I'd like to say a big thank you so much for your time. All right, Lani, I know you're about to take your next flight now to another destination, and I know you just have to just squeeze out time to join us this morning. So I understand your context. And
Yeah,
Teresa too. This morning, I have to say, it's just appreciate you for taking out the time to join us and to be part of this. We really so much appreciate this. Thank you for joining us. All right, so this panel session, yeah. So one thing, just like we discussed before now, want to share with us, how you have been interesting, inspiring, and intriguing moments in your classroom, that shows the application of the 21st century learning design. So share that with us. All right. We believe so much in scenario-based learning that show people how it's been done. Rather than taking a lot of time to we show them how it's been done. This is what it looks like. We believe it's going to drive the point easily and helps them to get a picture of the expectation, you know, from the 21st century learning design. And that's why we try to say, okay, let this panel session be about sharing your experience. Let it be about sharing what you have done, interesting and inspiring things that happen in the classroom that participants can do and then think of what in the classroom to apply and then be better at their delivery. All right, so I'm going to start with Teresa. So Teresa, would you like to discuss with respect to 21st century learning design? I hope you can hear me.
I think your sound is distorted again. Can you just repeat what you said now?
Okay, great. So I'm going to hand over to you right now, and then wanted to share with us interesting and inspiring moments in your classroom where you have applied 21st century learning design. All right. So yeah, so I'm going to hand over to you right now. I hope it's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Okay, it's clear now.
Please, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for this platform. And I think what we are doing now is exactly what this whole program is designed to do. I think it's all about connecting with people from all over the world to share expertise, to share experience, so that we can see that what we are professing to do is not only something that theoretically sounds okay, it's something that if you put it into practice, it can actually work, as EAZY-DIGI is proving to do. So, as you have correctly indicated, it is as a result of collaboration, of discussion, sharing, and interchanging ideas that I think we find ourselves where we are right now. So I'm just going to sketch a little bit of background. I am your classic chalk and talk teacher. That's how I started out my teaching. But if you think about where we are and what it is that the world expects of us, you realize at some point in your life that your teaching has to evolve, it has to become better, it has to fit in with what the world needs and what the world expects. So I think as teachers, it is also important that we constantly make sure that we realize this and that we are constantly developing ourselves so that we can get to the point where we can actually expect this from our learners as well. I think that is what 21st century learning design is all about. It is about looking at the time. It is about looking at what we have available to us. And it is also looking at how we can use tools to get the ultimate out of our learners. We no longer need learners who can regurgitate facts and who can sort of just spew back whatever we give them in curriculum. We now need learners who can take a look at the content that we are providing and making it personalized and seeing where they can take this in their own personal lives. So just as an example, project-based learning is one of the things that I feel very passionate about. Because in project-based learning, you're going to provide the learners with some sort of problem and have them come up with a solution instead of you providing that solution with them. So I'm going to use a small example of what I've done in my classroom is we've taken a look at real world situations and real world problems. And we have asked learners to take a look at how they can identify a problem using, of course, some questions to guide their thinking and how we can get them to actually getting a solution. So I'm just going to mention one example that to me is always the most outstanding one is one of the learners came up with the idea that we have people who are colorblind, and to her the problem was what do people who are colorblind and who do drive, what do they do when they get to a traffic light? So they thought of coming up with a solution to the problem color blindness and to come up with a way to address this so that people who are colorblind can actually identify the different colors of the traffic light. So I'm not going to go into the whole the entirety of the project, but this is just an example of how creative our learners actually can become if we inspire them enough, ask the right questions, give them the right skills, equip them enough so that they can do the thinking and that they can come up with the solutions. And I think if we are able to do that, then we can come up with much more practical examples, especially in the time that we are living with. That's one of the things that I can share. I hope that's okay.
Well, awesome. That's interesting. So you mean one of your learners walked up to you, and I think I love that so much. Walked up to you and was thinking about that. How to provide a solution to that particular issue. Oh, that's pretty interesting. I love that. I love that. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
tell me that you have an atmosphere, yeah, in your classroom. You have an atmosphere in your classroom where the learners are free, where they have that, where they have that, where they see themselves as an active. Everyone sees himself as an active member of the classroom community. Everyone sees him as, right here in this classroom. I know I'm important. And there's no, the whole thing is differentiated and everyone is connected. Everyone is immersed into the whole learning experience. I see that in your classroom, and that's just really awesome. That's awesome. And exactly how.
Absolutely. And it's not just at an individual level. When you do projects and you do it in a group, you allow for collaboration, you allow for them to be doing interaction with each other, sharing ideas. So I think that was the project-based learning. That's what it's actually based on. And it works well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's good. So when they got into this project, can you just mention one, two things that happened again along the line? But while working on the project, can you just mention just one, two? I know you don't want to boss with the whole story and all of that. Just mention one, two things that happened again. Just to wrap it up, if you don't mind.
I think that sometimes as a teacher you expect learners to go a certain way with the project, but I think another example that I can mention is a group of learners then that did not only take their problem and their solution and present it to the class, but they went a step further and they actually created a little video of a real life scenario where you had a panel. They formed the panel. One pretended to be the doctor, the other with the idea that she would like to present, and the others with a group of professionals that she was presenting her idea to. And I think that was just a little bit more inspirational because I had in no way asked them to do this, and this is just something that they came up with themselves. So I do think that if you do allow learners to explore their strengths and also the initiative that they would like to take with an idea, if you allow that comfortable space for them to evolve, then you'll be surprised and amazed at what they can actually come up with.
Awesome. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Yeah. Would be surprised at what they can come up with. Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you for that contribution. Thank you so, so much. So they went
You're
for that.
welcome.
It's really interesting to hear that. It's really interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you so much for that wonderful contribution. That was
Thank you,
awesome.
sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very clearly. Can you hear me?
Am I audible enough?
Yeah, yeah, of course you are. Of course you are. You are. You are. I
Oh,
can hear you
okay,
clearly.
okay, good.
All right,
All right.
great. So Teresa has opened the floor, sharing with us those wonderful stuffs. And so we want to get into you now. So we know you've got a lot of powerful experiences with your learners in the classroom. Sometimes I see some of your videos and I see some of those wonderful things that's happening in your classroom. So we'd like you to share with us. So with respect to the 21st century learning design, the infusion of the 4 C's into your learning experience. Share with us those inspiring and exciting moments, and we'd like to learn from them. Yeah, over to you, Olani.
All right, good. Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers from all over the world, and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much. As a teacher, I see learning from the angle of preparation. Um, late Dr. Miles Monroe said in his days that when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And of course, when you look at presentation from the angle of lack of preparation, people are not prepared to, before the teachers are not prepared before they go to into the classes. They tend to, muddle everything together without plan. So I see it from the angle of having a three, course meal. I see lesson planning as an I'm from the angle of having a three-course meal, whereby you have the starter, the appetizer, whereby you have a leading. I mean, you create a contest, you set a contest, and you maintain the contest actually, and you make them want more in the beginning of the lesson. You understand? And the 4 C's, the 21st century 4 C's, the collaboration, critical thinking, and problem solving, collaboration, and the creativity. The 4 C's, is based on this creativity of having a three-course meal as a form of lesson plan. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Now, When you leave the main course, like you started, you've whet their appetite, you've made them want more. You understand? And you go into the main course, which is the teaching itself. You make the teaching wholesome and and nutritious. You collaborate. You create a lot of teaching shapes. A lot of teaching shapes. Like I'm glad that one of them will be touched at the end of before the end of this session. We have a lot of them. We have the project based. We have the task based. We have the PPP. We have the teach text teach lesson shapes. Like we have a lot of lesson shapes. As a teacher, we have to be creative in the approach we use. Now, considering the context of what we want to teach. For example, you as a teacher, you want to teach an equation, but you need to check the knowledge, the background knowledge of the student about that thing. How do you put that? You put them in a group as a teacher. You encourage peer work, group discussion, group work. You put them into different sections of group, and okay, you give them the task to do. Not paying attention to the task to be done. You understand? But making them complete the task. Let them discuss. Let me have them brainstorm. Have them exchange ideas and views concerning the as touching the ideas of the course. Let them they form part of it, whereby
Oh,
you give them what to teach. You give them task and responsibility to do at the end of their lessons. So these are areas, these are areas you can actually, inculcate the habit of collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving. You let them work together as a group. You give them projects, you give them tasks, you give them text to do together. When they exchange idea, they communicate. I haven't done their collaboration. After the collaboration, having worked together as a group, they select a leader out of the group of three or four or five. One of them will come up to talk and present the idea of the group to the entire class. It enhances rather, it enhances creativity in the classroom. It gives them the ability, to present projects later in life. And these are real life learning situations. These are real life learning, skills that these students will need later in life. So it starts from the classroom. It starts from the elementary level, where you put them in group and let them work together. Put them in group and let them exchange ideas, express their views. Now, no teacher, no student is a dullard. No teacher is a fool. No student is a fool. No student is a dullard. So you engage them, you pull them, you make them work, want more. The the entire class will be, you'll be involved in the whole teaching process, and it gives them, the ability to participate and all of those things. So it is important for us as teacher, and I'm putting this challenge on all of us as teacher, to always carefully plan our lessons in the purview of a three course meal, whereby we have the starter, which is the appetizer. That's why you create the leading. We have the main course and we have the dessert. And if you have this orientation as a teacher while planning your class, it will be easier for you to, drive home your points, your lesson goals to your students. And at the end of the day, you'll be fulfilled as a teacher. Okay? And this is the basics I just have to share. So I know with time, as we move further, we'll be teaching about the lesson shapes, the different type of lesson um, styles and shapes you can actually adopt, to teach different subjects, different topics, and in the class. Also, in the class, and of course, it is very important, as mentioned, that it involves teachers' creativity. There are a lot of these skills and tools all over, and that's why EasyDigi is here to present to us this thing. You can actually find them online, but then you cannot really find the depth of their usage online, and that's why we have this conference and and I'm hoping to have a productive turnout from sorry responses and implementations from our teachers and our subscribers as they use all these skills. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Lani. Thank you so much. Okay, if you would, can you, just like you mentioned, and just like Teresa too mentioned, we have come to a point where the classroom must be less of the teacher in action and more of the learners in action. That's what we're saying right here. All right, so the learners have to be thoroughly engaged. I think about the fact that that's why they left their homes. They left their homes. They left their whatever it is to come to a place where they want to come have fun. All right, so where they really want to enjoy themselves. So active learning and really getting sure that these kids are engaged. All right, bearing in mind the 21st century learning design is critical. And that's what Teresa has mentioned, and you're saying the same thing too now. Putting it in focus that they really must be engaged. They need to collaborate. They need to work in groups. We need to engage them while we're around as a teacher, facilitating the experience. Just ensuring that they learn and guiding the whole experience and all of that. Right, so that's interesting. All right, so before you go, Mr. Lani, could you please just mention a scenario, something that happened in your class, something intriguing, inspiring that happened in your class, that speaks to the 21st century learning design. But I would like to hear that one. Please, would like to hear that one.
Okay, so it's about a collaboration. It's all about collaboration. I was in class a day. Sometimes ago, um, before the pandemic, where we were engaged in collaboration. The students were put into groups and they were asked to deliberate about a social issue. I think it was basically about a musician who was singing to the depressed. And it brought up the idea. I put them in group to deliberate about it. Okay, I gave them first, and I gave them an assignment, a project to work on. And the project is about picking their favorite artist, write about them, put their presentation, put it on a slide, and bring it to the class to present. One of them will come to the class and present for the group. And during the presentation, a boy from the other group, stood up and said he doesn't like the personality of that singer. And I said, why? Why didn't you like it? So he was trying to put out a point that the singer is an immoral singer. And the other lady the other girl that was presenting that was doing the presentation was saying she loves and her group loves a kind of music because she speaks to the lives of the depressed. Her lifestyle, her personality doesn't really matter. She's not interested in how she lives her life, but she's interested in the kind of song and lyrics she puts out there for people to listen to. And the boy was like, okay, she's living. The singer lives a fake life, a confusing life. Is misleading the audience. He said, as long as the guy said, as long as she speaks, she sings what is needed to be spoken. It's needed for the people that are depressed to get out of their depression. She's fine, and every member of our group is fine. Now we were able to reach a compromise that day. It was a very interesting topic. I was asking from both sides, and as a teacher, you need to balance the equation and make them feel okay. You're right. You're also right. Okay, and we were able to. And the interesting part of it is some other students in the class were able, other people were able to pick up very germane points from debate. You can never win an argument. You learn. It's gonna be a win-win thing for all of them. Both of them win. Both of them won. The two groups won. And it's like, okay, the essence of going to class is not just to go to class and learn in the traditional way, the way we were brought up. Now, the students are engaged, are empowered to come up into the class and express their views, speak their minds. This is what I think about this topic. This subject is not right enough. Why don't we do it like this, teacher? They own the class. It's a teacher sorry, student centered classroom situation. That's a 21st century kind of classroom. Teachers are just moderators now. You understand? So we were able to drive home a lot of point that day. It was an interesting session. I mean, sometimes we find like okay, if not because of time, 40 minutes is not even enough in our classrooms again because of the kind of discussion and collaboration, critical thinking, and problem solving activities that goes on now in the classroom. You understand? So we need as teachers, apart from you having clubs, of course, the Nigerian teachers will tell us we have different clubs on Fridays, on Wednesdays, we go to their different clubs. We're talking about an inclusive classroom situation at every 40-minute classroom session. Every 40 minutes as a teacher, as an introspect teacher, as a mathematics teacher, as an elementary science teacher, as a computer science teacher, you should be able to bring your students into the classroom live and let them participate. They will not participate. An average student will not talk in a class except to put them into groups. That's where the functions were. That's where they function well. That's where they operate more. They free among their peers. They want to talk. They want to express themselves. This is what I feel about this. This is what I feel about this thing. They want to have a voice. You understand? Gone are those days when we have, like we were brought up, where we have a teacher coming to class and write. I mean, and we keep writing for the next 45 minutes, writing notes, and we'll be copying notes from morning till evening. Without, I mean, the ones that we even explain, we just explain on the surface. And a teaching learning situation has gone beyond that level, and we are in a new era of learning teaching. So it is an atmosphere. I mean, I was seriously moved. It was one of those beautiful sessions I had. Even when we went online in an online situation, we had a lot of sessions like that were awesome. Because of our time. Because of our time, I will not be able to share more than that. There are a lot of beautiful sessions that we introduce to your students and be like, okay, let's talk about this. Okay, how do you get out of this situation? We create a scenario. As a teacher, you create a situation. Okay, you have this, you are in this situation as a person. You're a family man. You play puzzles. As a family man, you have a wife, you have your children, and you are in this kind of situation. What do you do? Like, what will you do first? Who will you salvage first of this situation, from this situation, before the crisis comes? These are situations. You give them situation. You give them situational kind of reasoning. Have them take a mental flight out of the classroom situation, whereby they can actually journey through the whole sphere of life in expressing and portraying their points. You understand? In presenting what they have to put in that. These guys are wise. These kids are super smart. I tell you, they are in the computer age and they know what they are doing. So we'll be doing ourselves a lot of disservice if we don't allow them to express themselves freely and conveniently in the classroom without me by not creating the atmosphere for them to talk. You understand? So there are a lot of it. I cannot just keep mentioning. So you know the so-called, and I hate to say this word, dull. No student is dull. I tell you, dull in code. Is that this one is dull? It's not dull because you have not been able as a teacher to discover his area of strength, his area of intelligence. If you have done that, you know it's not dull. So there are a lot of them that has this mind, this wide thinking, like they have this ability to think broad and wide and express themselves. Some cannot even think really deep, but they have the capacity to think in their own level. But some have the gift of narrating and expressing and presenting sessions and all of those things. So these are things we look out for in our students and help them develop the more. You understand? So this and many more are the things we need to do as teachers to look deep into the 21st century teaching using the 4 C's, in putting out whatever we want to give and, put in the life of the kids. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Lani. I'm going to take a minute out of the class. That was interesting. Thank you so. That was good. Thank you for that scenario. So we put them in a place where we just get them engaged mentally. All right, where they begin to think, critical thinking is in place, and everyone is thinking. You have an explosion. You have an explosion of different dimensions of reasoning, and in that kind of classroom, an innovation can evolve. An innovation can evolve out of that kind of atmosphere when there is an explosion of dimensions of reasoning, different thoughts put together, and that's the power of collaboration. Thank you for sharing that. That was really interesting. That was really interesting. All right. Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you so much, Olani, for these ideas put together. I believe the participants that are going to that listening and those that are going to watch this afterwards, if they can put these two experiences together, they have something new to go implement in their classrooms. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you so much. So we need to move into another session right now. So this is going to be a presentation. It's going to be a presentation, and then we have Rich Dixon joining us this uh, for this presentation, and I have so much to say about him, but I wouldn't want to go into that. If there's one thing I appreciate about him is, I love his I would say he's a very humble person. Yeah, there are few people that there are some persons you try to connect with, and then you discover that no, they don't really, for every time I send the message across, the response I get, I love the fact that he's a very open person. When I just shared with him, oh, this is what we're doing, I was like, wow, this is awesome, and this is, and I really appreciate that fact, and I really appreciate that fact so much, so much. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Rich. It has been a nice time meeting you. We've only had to discuss, a few occasions, and our discussions have really been so much wonderful. They have really been so much wonderful. All right, thank you for being a part of this. You know, we are saying a big thank you. And so we know this morning you have something great and something special to share with us, and we cannot wait to hear from you. We really cannot wait to listen to you. All right, so it's going to be taking us on a journey into project-based learning. If you can, remember, both Teresa and Lani, they mentioned something about project-based learning, and there's really something critical about PBL that we need to consider in this age with learning. So Rich is here to take us deep into that and to share some powerful scenarios with us. Please stay connected and stay tuned. I promise you're really going to enjoy yourself. So Rich, this is where I hand over the platform to you. Do let me know if you need anything. I'm still around.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Abayo. It's an honor to be here with all of you. And my name is Rich Dixon. I'm with a non-governmental organization based in the United States called PBL Works, and we exist to help educators like yourselves learn how to develop project-based learning and to facilitate that effectively in classrooms and across the internet when you're doing that virtually as well. And so I have a presentation that I'm going to go ahead and share. And the goal of this is to help us explore a couple of different important elements. And so I'm sharing a presentation now. Adebayo, let me know if it's not showing up. I think it is on the screen. Looks like it is there. And we're going to talk a little bit about making the connection between project-based learning and 21st century schools and the 4 C's and everything else that my wonderful former presenters that were here before me have mentioned. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to define what project-based learning is in a little bit more detail, why project-based learning would be something really important to consider as we think about transforming and reinventing our schools in order that we prepare all students to be successful in the world's economy now and where we think it's going in the future. And I'm going to share a number of different free resources that you can access now and in the future. One of them is a framework called the High Quality Project-Based Learning Framework with the acronym HQPBL. And I'm going to talk about how that's connected to 21st century skills. Then I'm going to get into a brief case study. And then I'm going to talk about some free resources for you. So this is how we, as an organization, define project-based learning. We've been focused on project-based learning now for well over 22, 23 years. And all we do is focus on developing resources and encouraging folks like Teresa and others who have shared around project-based learning for the use in your classroom. So we say that project-based learning is a teaching method by which students gain knowledge and skills by working for an extended period of time to investigate and respond to an authentic, engaging, complex problem, question, or a challenge. And we believe that the skills that come out of this are both discrete skills, meaning things like learning algebra and how to apply formulas to real-world problems, as well as some of the 4 C's that were mentioned in earlier presentations. And we'll talk about that. So I also want to talk about what project-based learning is not, at least in terms of how we define it. So this is perfect because in the previous presentation, we talked about meals. And in this example, I'm going to talk about a dessert project. We like to say that project-based learning is not a dessert project, and I'm going to explain what I mean. A dessert project, by our definition, is something where, in this case, at least in the United States, it's fairly common for teachers to assign something like this diorama or this model, which is really just a copy of a picture in a book about a habitat. And there's nothing wrong with that. We think that there's a role and a place for that, but we think that projects can be so much more. In this case, in the dessert project, to be very clear, the teacher gave an assignment and said, make a replica of this picture that shows this particular habitat. And the students, all they were doing is copying and building it. There is some value in that, but we like to go a little bit deeper. And we call that gold standard project-based learning. On the left is a framework, and we'll reference a place where you can find more information, download, look at this particular framework. And this framework is our gold standard project design framework. And each of the elements in there, we will touch upon just a little bit here to help us understand what I'm referring to, gold standard or high quality project-based learning. So a couple of examples that I put on the screen is that students can build a prototype of a solar oven to be used in a city or a village. That is just a quick example of something that's going to take some time, extended learning. There's a number of different things. They're going to have to understand math. They're going to have to understand a number of different subject matter disciplines. And they're going to want to make sure, of course, that they're communicating and collaborating with one another. We'll unpack more of what I'm talking about in the next couple slides. Another example is that students propose a bill, a governmental bill, to address important issues in a mock legislature event. And I think Teresa might have mentioned something that was akin to that. We also give the example here that students act as financial planners for community members about how to meet college and living expenses. And so we'd like to think of these things as being as real and authentic as possible, something that connects to learners and their passions. And that leads me to why we are passionate about PBL and why we think it's important to consider as one of several different ways to help promote 21st century learning and students that are ready for our current world and the future world. The first is that we believe that we have students that have engaged hearts and minds. They're learning to think about the world and how they are equipped, even young students, to be able to solve the world's problems today and have skills that help them grow into solving future problems. They're deeper learning, as Adibadu mentioned earlier in the introduction to this session. We believe it connects deeply with how students think and then apply learning that can then be used in a number of different situations. Success skills, the 4 C's, as we were just mentioning, is another thing that PBL relies on greatly, and it gives students a sense of purpose. Plus, one of the things you'll hear me talk about is connecting project-based learning to your community. That can sometimes be a school community. It can be a community where the student is learning if they're on their own or in a small group in their township or wherever they happen to be living. And then it takes creativity and technology as well. It connects back to that as well. And we'll unpack a little bit more of that in a couple of slides. And then what I always love to throw out there is it's rewarding for us as teachers, being able to facilitate lessons where we see students come alive, where the meaningfulness of the learning is at the forefront. And it's not just lecture and students memorizing and quickly writing down notes because they need to memorize and then regurgitate those in a test. So let's get a little bit more practical. I want to give you a free resource that will help perhaps you envision the kinds of learning environments that your students can have with project-based learning. So it's the PBL, HQPBL framework, again, high quality project-based learning. And then I'm going to point out within the framework the connection to 21st century skills. So again, this is a very simplistic website that is up there. It's HQPBL. I'm going to unpack each of the 6 different elements within the framework. And it's a free download. I put the URL here on the screen. It's hqpbl.org. And a number of different entities, global entities, including Google, the International Society for Technology and Education, ISTE, and others contributed as multiple organizations work to help define project-based learning. So the first element within that framework is intellectual challenge and accomplishment of the 6. And just some quick, we could go into depth, but for the sake of a short presentation, this particular element for students in helping us as educators understand what the student experience will be like, this element helps students to investigate challenging problems, questions, or issues. And it focuses on concepts, knowledge, and skills central to the subject area. Sometimes people think of PBL, at least here in the United States, and they think of that model that I showed in the earlier picture, where students are just doing one skill. And we like to encourage a number of different skills to come into play, whether it's writing, math, communication, collaboration. The next element is authenticity. And we think this is really important because we believe that projects have the ability to impact and connect students to their world, not just at school or in their homes where they're doing their learning, but beyond those environments, and that it connects to their personal interests and their concerns, and it helps them understand their own giftedness, their own areas of interest that they want to continue to learn about. And then when it's authentic, we use real tools and techniques and digital technologies that others use outside of school. And so that might be tools to help with project planning or communication, such as Zoom, or a number of different technologies, depending upon the subject area and discipline. And we think the more authentic we can make it, rather than just only reading a book's important. But if that's just limited to what we're doing in project-based learning, I think we're missing the opportunity to engage people with authentic work. And then another important element within the framework is a public product. We believe deeply that the work that's being done, what I label here as work in progress, is shared with peers and teachers and others for feedback before the end of the project, to mirror the kinds of feedback that all of us get in our regular work life. We want our students to begin to get feedback during the project development, and that this work is exhibited and shared to classroom peers and people beyond the classroom. That's possible as well, whether that's through online means or face-to-face, bringing people in, so that those people can give feedback and, again, make the learning authentic. And allowing students to learn public speaking and being able to receive questions and answers. And that's a part of receiving feedback and dialoguing with the audiences. And then another element is collaboration. We've heard, I think, all 3 speakers today, we're all talking about this element as well, which is that students learn how to become effective team members and leaders. And students learn how to work with adult mentors and experts, so not just their age level peers, community members, businesses, different organizations, things like that. But thinking about collaboration with peers, but also a bigger definition. So how can we bring in authentic audiences and collaborate that way? And then another key aspect, and we find this is one that takes a bit of training for students and sometimes for educators too, is project management, helping students to learn how to manage themselves and their group with their role within the group, to work effectively through multi-step projects. Because as you can well imagine, if we're designing a solar system that's going to help heat a house or help with electricity or something like that, that's going to take a number of different attempts. There's probably going to be a number of different bits where things don't work, and they have to go back and rethink how they're going to make that successful. And that takes understanding how to manage a project, a due date, other people that have expertise or are assigned different aspects of that work, and working together collaboratively. And that's oftentimes a tricky thing to grow students into, but critical for their success, their 21st century skills. And again, as I mentioned, using those tools and strategies. And then this is really critical. We are really big. In fact, I'm going to have you do a little bit of this in just a bit here. But the reflection element is really important, of course. Having students learn to assess and suggest improvements for their own work. Students are quick to want to please, especially the younger students, get our approval as educators. But what we want to do is we also want to ask them to do their own reflecting. Because when we're not around, or an educator, another teacher's not around, we want our students to be able to be confident when they're working outside of the school, to be able to be effective and understand through their own reflection where they could do better or where they've achieved success. So building that self-confidence and self-reflection is a part of that. And then just reflecting upon their own learning so that they have a way to think about how they're growing. So I'm going to show a quick case study. I hope this video comes through okay with the bandwidth. It's a little bit long. It's about 7 minutes, but it's a very concrete or very explicit way to understand what the framework that I just showed you looks like in practice. And this is a group of third graders. I've many, and so for us in the United States, that's great. That's at age 8. And we have many different free videos like this for different age levels and subject matter on our website that I'll give you the address at the end. But I want to show this because sometimes people think projects are just for older students, but for even as young as 8-year-olds, we can get something out of it. So I'm going to play this video, and Adebayo, if you'd let me know if the audio doesn't come through, that would be great. It's going to take just about 4 or 5 seconds.
You are going to design a home. You're going to plan a home. You're going to build a home. This project, the Tiny House Project, is where students are designing tiny houses. Remember, when you're going to build this, we have to think about who's living in the house. There was a boom in tiny homes, just the idea of living in one, just because in the city, the population is growing and there's more people, less room, and maybe a tiny house is more cost efficient, more green. Would you like to have your own room? Would you like to have your own space? The driving question was, how can we, as a design team, design a house for clients, taking into consideration budget and location and personal preferences? The entry event was Minecraft. So they used Minecraft to build just a house that they would build for their family.
This is inside the house. This is where, like, the sofa, and over here is where I sleep.
They're able to use their creativity. They're able to just be free and just to build without anybody giving them parameters. Back to our project and this driving question. What do we need to know to answer this question?
Like, say they have family that's going to come live with them. They have to think about that. Like, have a guest room.
The Minecraft building sparked, like, how many rooms do we build? And so they came up with their need to knows. Any other need to knows you'd like to add?
You have to imagine how much it costs.
Well, we have to know, like, how many kids there are or how big the family is. And what are those questions that you think you should ask the client? And they're like, yeah. And so we come back to the driving question. We came back to the need to knows. And we came back to their entry event just so that they can get some questions that are appropriate for their project to their clients.
What is the minimum square footage you want?
400 feet.
Do you want a second story?
Yes, second story would be good.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool.
I think it's important for them to know that there's a real client because it gives the project more authenticity.
Would you like to have a garden outside your house?
Yes.
When they form a relationship with the client, then they start to care about what the client thinks.
This is the final product. This is what the construction documents look like, but not too different from that concept drawing, right? We have the bedrooms up here, master bedroom in the corner.
So I asked an expert to come and present to the students, and he was actually a structural engineer.
You're going to see elevations. Just kind of look at what kind of information is on there. How do you tell a wall is a wall? You can see you put 2 lines parallel to one another.
And we talked about making blueprints and what does that look like, or having a layout.
Oh, look, it even has plants right here. I want these.
These are called elevations.
I think they were really excited about seeing the blueprints because it was just real things that they can hold, they can touch, and they can see, and they know that engineers touched it and engineers made this, and this is what we're going to do. All right, we're going to move into our next rotation. On this side, we have front row and RAS kids for listening to reading and answering comprehension questions. So as we plan the project, we think about the standards that we're going to be using. In this project, we're using opinion writing or reading of informational text, and we integrate that into like a daily rotation in English language arts. So this is an article from NASA, and it's called Tiny House Fun. If you have something you want to highlight, like you want to get back to, or a word that you really don't understand and you want to learn more about that, you can highlight some words. So on that day, I had a group and we were looking at informational reading. And then another group, they were listening to a book that had to do with houses. And then another group was working on vocabulary. and all the vocabulary is part of the project. And then another group was just doing their read to self, and that's just books that they're interested in, so they're practicing reading independently. Write your name at the top. For math rotations, we call it math with the teacher, math with technology, and math with the partner. The house size that your client wanted. And then I'm working with the group, and we're really looking at area and perimeter and the difference between area and perimeter. Okay, so can you tell me what the square units are here? Another activity that we did with math was the Cheez-Its math. When they looked at square footage, we said that each Cheez-Its was 1 square inch, and they used that kind of information to do square footage within a house. It was just kind of a connection for them. To help them refine their designs of their homes, students went through a feedback protocol.
I turned the bathtub from here to here because I know that you can't get through the toilet if it was like that. There's the bathroom with the shower. Yeah.
They were paired up with another group, and they presented their models, they presented their blueprints and their layout, and they talked about what was in the house and who their client was, just to get some feedback from their peers.
Our client is Miss Pena. Her age is 39. Her budget is $40,000.
Within the fishbowl protocol, what we did was, me and another teacher, we sat in front of a presenting group, and everyone else looked around us, just like a fishbowl where they're not to talk, they're not to say anything, they're just really listening and seeing the interaction between the presenter and the guest.
I like how you do go into the living room, but maybe push the bedroom in the back. And then, so then that way she has more.
Is so you can think about questions, you can think about behavior within the meeting, and so they can use that as a model for when they go back to their groups.
This is the laundry area, and then here's the pantry to store all the clothes. Right here we have a little office.
We practice different ways to present to their clients. We talk about eye contact, we talk about confidence, we talk about postures, we talk about volume of your voice.
Hello, my name is America. Hello, my name is Christopher. And the title of our project is Tiny Houses. Our driving question of this project is, given a budget, how can we as a design team plan a home for a family?
The last day of this journey is for them to really present their work to their clients. And they were so excited.
Did you have a hard time building the house?
Kind of, yeah. We had to redo some of the walls so that they were the exact measurement. There's the master bedroom. The middle is the kitchen. Here's a room.
They shared their blueprints, they shared their layout, they shared their budget, and they shared their opinion paragraphs that they wrote so that they can try to persuade their client to purchase their home.
Okay, thank you for your patience as we looked at that video. And there are several more videos that highlight different projects that I'll point you towards in another slide. But I'm going to invite you to do something that may feel a little bit different. And that is that I'm going to ask you to do what we ask our students within the high quality project-based learning framework, which is to reflect on what you just saw. And so if you have something to write and you'd like to do so, I'd ask you to reflect and then to write. If you'd like to just reflect, that's fine too. But I'd like you to take literally 2 minutes, and I'll just kind of watch the time. It'll be a little quiet and silent here. But to respond to the question that's on the screen, how did the teacher promote 21st century skills within project-based learning? So go ahead and take just a couple minutes here to just reflect on that. Again, if you do have something to write with and want to do that, this gives you an opportunity to reflect upon what you just saw in the video. And as you reflect and as you start to write, feel free to use the chat to drop in your ideas and share your inspiration with the rest of the participants in this video. Great, thank you for that. Great comment. Yep. Connection with collaboration. Let's keep those going. If you have any more ideas, much like the collaboration connection, feel free to drop those in the chat. Okay, as you start to kind of wind up your reflection and your writing, I'd encourage you to continue to do that, perhaps after this presentation, when you get a free moment as well, because we believe, as we mentioned earlier, that reflecting upon our learning journey is an important aspect of us being able to then take and apply what we've learned and reflect upon our own growth, which we're doing in this moment as well. So again, we talked in this, just to briefly summarize what I've shown today, we looked at the HQPBL framework, which describes the student experience. And I want to encourage you to take a look at a number of different free resources. I have a URL on the screen. So the web page address is and it's really important to get that dot in there, my.pblworks.org. And when you get to that site, you can sign up for a free account, which is kind of this blue button kind of here in the middle. And there's a number of different free resources to help you get started. There's planning guides, there's rubrics for helping students to reflect upon effective project-based learning experiences and help them to refine their practice. It also provides opportunities for you to plan. There's a number of different guides that help and walk you through different ways to implement and plan project-based learning, no matter what grade level and age level or subject that you're teaching. And then we have a collection of different projects as well. We have 3 that are free. There's a whole nother set that is a paid thing, but you don't have to pay those to get benefit from just looking at the free ones here and downloading those. So those are just some all free resources, with the exception of some of the paid stuff behind there. But we have over 142 different free resources, including more videos like you just saw, to help inspire you. So I'd like to open it up to question and answer time. And Adebayo, perhaps invite you to rejoin me, either to facilitate some questions, or I'll take questions in the chat as well. So thank you for all of you that have dropped in ideas.
Wow, 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 and wow. Well, this has been an awesome time. This has really been an interesting and inspiring time, I must say. I must say thank you so much, Rich, for taking the time to put this presentation together and for sharing this lovely stuff with us. We are so grateful. So I'm going to pop up some stuff from the chat box, so we
Thank you.
can see what some of our have to say. Yeah, we have Dan. I think Dan is connecting with us from I think from USA, I believe. Yeah, from USA. Now, Dan says, great use of PBL. I'm impressed and excited. Yes, we are all impressed and excited. It requires planning, as stated earlier, to link a structured curriculum, which can be restricting, to PBL. All right, so I'm Rich. What would you like to say about this? Dan is saying something that's very critical. You know, requires planning, as stated earlier, to link a structured curriculum, which can be restricted. So, in the next 2-3 minutes, what can you say about? Oh, sorry, Dan, you're from UK. I'm sorry, I just got that in the chat box. So Dan is reaching us from UK. Thank you, Dan, for joining us. Thank you. Nice one. So yeah. So concerning what Dan is saying here, so how what can you say, just in a few minutes, about connecting your curriculum to PBL?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, you bet. One of the things that you'll find on the free resources within our planner is a walkthrough of different maybe standards or learning outcomes that you are either required to teach within your country or state or jurisdiction, or other just international standards that you want to connect to. We think that's absolutely critical, and here's why. We believe that explicit instruction about certain concepts, I'll take just math, for example. Perhaps there's a formula within, again, algebra or something that we want students to be able to learn. Direct instruction and perhaps elements of standardized kind of formal teaching, sometimes people think are not compatible at all with PBL, but we actually think that that plays a role in project-based learning. Students are going to need from time to time direct instruction. It's just that that's not the only thing they're doing. They might need a short lesson, a mini lesson, say 15, 20 minutes, maybe more, on a particular topic that they can then, that's relevant to the standards or to your other bigger curriculum, that then allows them to be successful with their project. So I would say that for us, projects have boundaries, if you will. They have specific outcomes that are connected to your curriculum, connected to your standards, connected to the desired outcomes. We believe that without that, projects tend to devolve into kind of dessert projects or kind of this wild free-for-all. So going back to the video that we just saw, that particular teacher had a very important set of a curriculum, specifically with math and writing, and she was teaching both at the same time. What she had now, though, was context. We had students having their buy-in. We had students that had a sense of ownership and authenticity around the project. So the curriculum itself had a meaning within the project. So that's a very fast overview.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was great. Yeah, so I think I should just share this. So we work with schools as virtual learning managers, and so we help them to manage their blended learning activities. Yeah, so we have a kind of weekly support system where we get to meet educators weekly. We review what they're doing, and we evaluate their activities, and if they have challenges with any of their blended learning activities, we help them fix it. Then we also do upgrade training. So I was suggesting this. I actually came up with this idea, this PBL idea, and for one of our schools, and I was saying that I tried to look at the community where the school is located, and then I discovered that we have a number of traders who I see that are not digital literate, and then a number of traders who really don't understand some things about using digital tools in organizing and putting their business together. Who really, when it comes to financial literacy, are not really there. And then I was thinking about that. So these kids, they do what they call balance sheet, some
Yes.
things that counting a lot of that in school and all of that. So I was thinking of a survey and intervention project, to that problem. All right, so whereby these kids are going to go out and do a kind of survey and interview several traders to understand what they're doing to some of this
Yes.
stuff, so they get to see the application. So if they are talking about this stuff, balance sheet, the credit account, and all of those things, so how does that apply to trading? Yeah, you get to see a number of traders who have this problem. They can't use it, they can't fix it. And then these kids are going to get a survey. Then with the help of the teachers, they put it stuff together and then they invite the traders to the school for a seminar to get to
Yes.
understand what this is all about. And then afterwards, these kids begin to help these traders to help them have that structure down. What do you think about it? You want to have something to that?
Absolutely. I love that idea. I think it's so great. I think there's a number of different things. There's one, the collaboration and communication outside of just regular, the regular lesson within a school. I think number two, it's authentic, it's real world, and helps to solve and to further address issues within the community. So that level of authenticity, I think that's a great example.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so Philip, can those links be shared? Don't worry, Philip. We're gonna get the link across, and then you can always. This session is recorded on YouTube, so even after the meeting ends, you get to see the recording of the entire session. Oh, it's over here. My.pblworks. Okay, so Philip, you can see it is right on the screen. You can catch the link right there, and then you'll have it. I tell myself, if this is not happening in the school, I don't know what else should be happening. I PBL is the engine. PBL is key. It's critical. It has shown by far. It has shown so far that it's more engaging. I was glad to see those kids have an experience of what it looks like. Designing the house and all of that. Oh my God, that's just awesome and that's interesting. I believe
Mhm.
this direction that learning should be taken. All across broad in our school. Let's come out of the classroom. Let's come out of the classroom. The classroom alone is not sufficient to give them as a matter of fact, I believe the product has changed and now the design should change. I mean, I look at school in terms of building a product. So we're trying to raise learners um, who are going to be engaging with jobs that we don't even have an idea. And so if the design, the learning design we've had before time, all right, has helped us to produce some kind of learners, the product. But
Yes.
now the product has changed. Now
Mhm.
we now produce learners who are going to become global citizens. We now need to produce learners who are going to become more innovative because we live in an innovation-driven economy. And so, if the product has changed, we need to change the design. And PBL, I would say, from what Rich has just shown us today, is the intent. Right, every school really needs to embrace project-based learning. So, Rich, could you give us some final words before we wrap up this session? A few things you'd like to say?
Absolutely. I think two things. Number one, PBL is a journey. So if you haven't started and it feels very overwhelming, it feels like, wow, I just saw a lot. I don't know if I'm ready as a teacher to do that yet. I want to encourage you that the teacher that you saw on the screen, when she first started, she was not ready to do all of that. She did small bits of getting ready to be a project-based teacher. So specifically, she had to learn how she was going to help her students provide great feedback to one another and help the students improve their own learning. So in other words, it's going to be a journey. And then the next project, she built in more and more independence for students. I think number two is that you trust yourself as your educator. You know your context. Help your students to be able to see their community and the world through new eyes that gives them a sense of ownership and authenticity so that they learn that they are empowered to take the 4 C's, the things that Teresa talked about so beautifully earlier as well in both presentations, and make those things a reality for them. Because while that's a challenge for you as a teacher, at first to grow into those things, I believe that you're going to be rewarded because you'll be so inspired by the things that students are going to do. And ultimately, and most importantly, our students are going to benefit. And when we see the enthusiasm and the change in their world that is brought about because of PBL, we're really onto something neat. So thank you for your time.
Awesome, awesome. It's really been an awesome time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you can, you could back around because we still want to talk about some few more things, and I like it to hear about it. All right, thank you so much, Rich.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. That was an awesome. Yeah, great. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, Teresa, are you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So, that was an awesome time with Rich. We just went into
Absolutely.
we just went into another world, and now we're back. What can you say about that presentation? I know you were really excited too.
Um, Yes, yes. I think that, I thought I knew about project-based learning, but this has just taken it to that gold stage that you mentioned right at the beginning. Thank you so much. There were some things that I took from this that I'm definitely going to be implementing as well. um, I think that having interaction like this is really good for development for teachers, because ultimately we want our learners to be the kind of learners that we saw in that video. And then you think like, wow, these are 8-year-olds. And I think if we think of our own unique situations, then it's really not difficult to get our learners to that level. I think, as I mentioned earlier, it starts with asking the right kind of questions. And I've mentioned something like that in the chat as well. In my experience, an important place to start is, what do I want out of a project? Why do I want my learners to do a project? And it should no longer be tied to curriculum and having, to comply to what is expected. It should actually be linked with, what does the world need from me right now? And if we can think of those questions, each learner, it's like Olisi also said, learners are not dull. Each learner has something to offer. Not everybody is a talker, not everybody is a thinker, not everybody is a creator, but each learner has something to offer. And with a project like this, you get every learner to focus on what their strength is and what they can bring to the party. So I love this. Like I said, I'm passionate about project-based learning, so I definitely think that there's value in this.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for staying with us. We are so grateful. Okay. Um.
Thanks for having.
uh, yeah. 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 So it's been an awesome time. It's been an awesome time. For our participants, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Philly, for connecting. And then we know for time zone and for several reasons in this part of the world, this is weekend, and teachers probably want to relax and all of that. So we have made a provision for your asynchronous consumption. You can always go through and you can always reach us as you watch the presentation. So there's one more thing we need to do before we wrap up today's session, and that's talking about Project FF, and that's talking about Project FF. So I yeah, Okay, so I'm excited to talk about Project FF. This is something we just put together and then just kind of connected with with PBL to say, um, but an average an average Nigerian child, an average African child has a low motivation for learning. An average Nigerian child has a low motivation for learning. An average African child has a low motivation. But this could also be obtainable in some other continents. I don't know, probably based on the divide and all of that. All right. So and then as long as the test for learning, as long as we did, we do not have independent and lifelong learners, as long as these skills are not in them, there is a little to what they can accomplish. There's a little because if you check out that video, those kids were excited. They were prompted. They began to explore. They loved that. You could see that these kids were independent learners and they knew how to collaborate as well. So seeing that um, learning is the foundation of it all. Yeah. So if we don't have learning in place, if we don't have a foundation of learning being erected, if we don't have these kids to be independent learners, if they're not lifelong learners, it's going to be difficult. Even driving PBL as it well might be really kind of difficult as it were. Okay, I'm trying to share my screen as I talk about Project FF. I'm going to do that briefly. Yeah. So what's the whole idea of Project FF? FF means future forward. Future forward. And what are we trying to do with Project FF? What's the whole idea? We discovered that for a long time, the school has been separated from the world. For a long time, much I would say in this part of the world, the school has been separated from the world. All right, so we live in a world that is fast evolving, and then we have schools that are not evolving. We have schools that are not evolving. The curriculum, the things we teach, and everything seems not to really connect with what is happening with the evolutionary and developmental trends that we see in the world today. And so there has to be a connection. There has to be a connection. Now, there's emphasis on authentic learning. There's emphasis on deeper learning. There's emphasis on experiential learning. We are saying that is what we want. We need something we can connect. These kids will not value the learning experience if it's not connected. Why? Sometimes we're still on the research, trying to get feedback from learners and what they think about the present school system. And here we hear a lot of learners saying, "Why do we do all of these subjects?" Like they're becoming tired and fed up of the learning experience, right? It's not motivating, and so their passion and motivation for learning is reducing. And when we have that, that's highly detrimental. It's reducing because they cannot connect the whole thing that is happening in the school. All right, it's just not connecting, and because they want more, and they're gonna keep wanting more because these kids, I believe, they are born for the future. And so the way they are wired, all right, is for the future. And so if everything we are giving them, if they're an environment that stifles and that doesn't allow them to express based on how they are make up, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. And that's the idea of this project, Project F5. And it's about building a community of industrial experts and learners. So we have a platform for learners to connect with industrial experts, with professionals. All right. So, for example, say this is a science class, and then we're talking about electricity, and then we understand the fact that electricity has a connection. All right. So we need to look for an industrial expert that's working on that line. All right, or someone that's working in a place where electricity is being generated to come and talk about electricity. From that industrial sense of view, we believe every topic has an end product in terms of whether social, domestic, or industrial application. So what's the application? And then we look for an expert. All right, so who has volunteered actually, to fix a time based on agreement, and then we connect this expert with these learners. And then he's coming on board to come and share with them what electricity is all about. Not from the surface level, but from the industrial view. This is the electricity from the industrial view. We generate electricity, we do this, we do that, we have stations and all of that. So everything the teacher is talking about, this is where it ends. Everything you're trying to learn about electricity, it all ends here. It ends here where we have to generate it and then we have to send it. And then right there, the learners begin to see the connection. Okay, okay, this is what this is all about. And then from there, they begin to because of the connection that's been established, the drive and the interest, is aroused. And then when we have a community, when we have learners that are motivated, when we have independent and lifelong learners that are willing to, to just personally go and research, and we believe this will begin to increase the motivation level for learning. Because we're a research-based organization, and from our research, we have discovered that this motivation for learning is kind of low. It's kind of low. And as long as we have it so low, we are not going to have a generation that is coming ahead of us that is going to do something great. Right. So we're trying to work on their learning, trying to increase their appetite, trying to help them to become independent learners and lifelong learners by providing learning that is connected. Yeah, we got that feedback a lot. They are wondering, what's this all about? What's the connection? But as long as they keep seeing the connection between what they're doing in the classroom and what's happening in the real life, we believe their appetite for learning will keep increasing. Will keep increasing. Individually, they want to do more. They want to go on research, and in the course of doing that, they discover stuffs. The innovation setting, they discover stuff that that can become useful to the society, and that's what Project FF is all about. And then for our participants that are connecting, and for those that will still get to watch this afterwards, yeah, this is something that is needed right now in Nigeria. We need this right now in Africa. We need this project to put our schools in a place where learning is connected, to put our schools in a place where the school is no longer separated from the world, because for a long time the school has been separated from the world. We do a lot of stuff that is really not aligning. And we're saying here that no, 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 no. Right now, the product has changed, and now the design has to change. All right. So the school is, looking at the school as an industry. What's our product? We are producing learners, and so because the design has changed, because the demand of the market has changed, how come the design hasn't changed? So we're saying right now the design has to change. The kind of learning that we emphasize has to change. Why? Because the demand of the market has changed. So the product now has to change. The kind of learners we raise has to change. We're raising learners who are going to be are going to become global citizens. As a matter of fact, from what the World Economic Forum is telling us, you know, um, 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 we're going to have new business models that are coming up, which will involve cross-cultural engagement. All right, so I'm here in Nigeria, and then I'm going to be working with a company that is in France. I'm going to be working with a company that's in UK. That's what's going to be happening. It's even happening right now. Not what it's even happening right now. All right, so how do we prepare these kids for these realities? We need to get them to see what is happening. And that's why we're coming up with this project. So it's going to be a community where we have industrial experts. We believe the teachers alone cannot do this. All right, so this is like a support system. It's like a support strategy, a support strategy for the teachers, and to also help the learners to experience what they are taught from an industrial perspective. All right, which is going to drive home the learning, and it stays with them, and which is the kind of learning that they need because of the kind of product that we are raising them to become. So this is just summarily what Project FF is all about. And so we are connecting with people, we're connecting with people everywhere, connecting with professionals and industrialists. I want to bring them on board, and then strategically, when we meet with schools, we organize platforms, especially for the schools that we are managing. We create a platform for their learners to get to meet these experts and then have an experience of authentic, experiential, and connected learning. And that's what Project FF is all about. Okay, so before we go, I want Teresa, I wanted to say something about what do you think about Project FF? Okay, so I'm going to start um with Teresa. Tell me what do you think about Project FF? Do you think it's a need of the hour?
Um, Absolutely. I think if I just go back to that video and the educator's use of a professional, an expert actually coming into the class and sharing expertise. And if you take a look at the learner's response to that, you realize how important an aspect that actually is. So I think with our project Future Forward, I think this is actually what we are gearing towards. Classrooms can no longer look like they did in the past. There simply is no need for us to go back to doing things in the old way, because as we now see, there's a different need. So if we can actually connect learners with people in the field, and especially because of what you said earlier, learners asking, why should I be doing all these subjects? Not all learners are into mathematics. Uh, as an example. So if we are able to then find the learner's strengths and connect them with people who link to that strength, we can build capacity, not only for the learner, but for the community that is going to sort of benefit out of this. So I think with the project, if we can get people that can connect with us and who are able to offer their expertise and to help us to build capacity in this way, then we're not, like I said, we're not only helping the learner, the school community, we're helping the community at large. And I think that's what we want to do. We want to empower communities, countries that are not at this level yet. And we can do that simply if we have the buy-in from experts. So I think this is our plea to experts out there. Get on board, help us to empower learners outside of the classroom. Because I think that's what this is about.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Teresa. And I should quickly mention here that when we started thinking about this idea, every time I have an idea, Teresa is one of the persons, is one of my go-to. I just Teresa, there's something I'm thinking about. Now I'm thinking about something, and then every time I get to her, she amplifies it, boom, and then so I really must appreciate you for that. Thank you for thank you,
Thank you for the collaboration. It's awesome.
yeah, great, great, great. Okay, so let's hear from Rich. Let's hear what Rich has to say about Project FF. Yeah,
I
Rich, what
couldn't
do you have to say
agree.
about Project FF?
Yeah, I could not agree more with what Teresa just said. We have found here in the United States that sometimes educators will not move forward with a project if they don't feel that they have their own expertise, and they're used to being the one that has to know everything for the students. And when they find that they can partner with a subject matter expert, somebody in the industry, somebody outside, then they feel much more relaxed and ready to move forward. And so 100% agree with the vision for what you're doing. When we've seen communities in different regions of the United States where there are those outside experts that are willing to partner with schools and come in and provide the kinds of things you saw in the video, we find that really transformed the learning. You saw it in the video. Students get excited. They understand this is real world. It means something. And so completely agree with what Teresa said.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Rich. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
staying. Thank you so much for staying with us this far. So right now, this is where we will bring uh, this conference to a close, and then I can't do this. I will not do this without thanking our guest again one more time on the platform. Olani is not here right because he had to just take his next flight to another destination. That was why I couldn't stay to the end. So thank you, Olani, for joining us. Thank you for the insight shared. Thank you so much, Teresa, for always been there. Thank you so much, and thank you, Rich, for being part of this. You've shared so much with us, and and we're looking forward to a long partnership with you. We're looking forward to
Mhm.
have you time to time, to come around and to share what's happening. And then, we believe this is how we will attain equity when we're able to match, all of what is happening from our different quarters. We're able to bring it together, and we are able to see, we can see that the sustainable development go forward, SDG for quality education for every child all over the world. We can see this is just our way of doing something about that. So thank Rich, I really need to let you know that what you have done is so much of a good input. We have a community. We have a community, and then you can be sure that everyone in our community is going to get to see this. Is going to get to know about this. So you may not know the impact of what you have done, but don't look at the number. Don't look at the no. Of course, so many people. At the end of the day, we end up getting like 48, 50. Like the last one we had, last one we had about 48 views. Yeah, so here in Nigeria, Saturdays is for parties. People want to chill out and go to the gym and
Right.
something like this. It's not something that yeah. So that's what. But people will really get to pull in, and you can be sure that this is really going to get into our community far and wide. Every schools, and you may not know the ripple effect, but it's really going to go far. And then in the course of that, you could get some people reaching out to you and say, oh, we would like to have Rich to come and things and something like that. So one more time, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the collaboration, and we're excited about this. And like I said, we look forward to having you over and over again. Thank you so much once again, Teresa. And then to all our participants, thank you, Dan. Dan from UK, thank you for connecting. We had Philly from Nigeria. We also had We also had one other person that joined earlier from Nigeria. Thank you for connecting. Yeah, so we are building a community and a global community, and we're concerned about equity. All right, we're concerned about getting to that place of equality in terms of learning experience, and we'll keep doing this until we get to that place of equilibrium, actually, and then we can say that across the globe, equilibrium, we really have equity happening practically. All right, so thank you so much. Thank you. This is also goodbye.
Yes, thank you.
Goodbye, Rich.
It's an
Thank
honor.
you. Bye bye,
Thank you. It's an
everybody.
honor.
Thank
Bye.
you.